Okay, so Zoe and I worked on the artist project with Syante to prepare for her upcoming EP release. So to start, just to show a little bit about Syante as an artist, she's currently a 24-year-old LA-based singer-songwriter. She was originally from India and then she came to LA to pursue her career in music. And her inspiration comes from One Republic, that's one artist, which is like presents more of like her genres of fusing together indie pop, rock, and other alternative music. So when trying to discover more of her audience, we noticed that her audience was more LA based, and she's been spotlighted in the Creation Project. So she has an Asian background that we're trying to expand on in terms of her audience. But for this EP release, we're focusing more on the 18 to 24-year-old demographic. She goes to USC and just engaging more in her social media. That's the demographic we're targeting for. So some of the trends that we discovered on Chartmetric for Ciante included for the past 3 months that she gained around 16 followers over this past year. But we noticed that she was declining in her monthly listeners from 500 to 125. So we were trying to discover what the problem was with this in terms of this year. And the problem we kept coming back to was who is Ciante? I think a really big part of discovering who you are as an artist and preparing your music is storytelling. And in terms of when you first look at her Instagram, establishing an aesthetic and her image, her story, organizing her reels and stories is a part of our marketing plan. So the four aspects of the marketing plan we have is having a cohesive, clean brand image for fans to recognize and associate her with. Content, so focusing on that demographic of 18 to 24-year-olds, prioritizing TikTok and Instagram Reels. Three is creating a website for her so she can generate her mailing list and invest in her shows and merch. And four is our plan for her EP release, which we're calling the Waterfall Rollout. And this is her website that we developed using Bandzoogle, um, with her bio, her latest track, latest news, and connecting her tickets for her shows.
So we came up with a comparable artist. Sanjana is also from India. She also resides in LA. She has a similar age demographic from 25 to 34, and she has a similar amount of followers and listeners, but slightly higher. So we looked at her EP release because we wanted to compare to see what the rollout plan should be. As you can see, for singles 2 and 3, Sanjana had the highest social growth. And so at this time, we can see that Sanjana started to streamline her Instagram aesthetic, having a similar color palette. And so that's something we would suggest for Sayante, especially since her most recent single, Downhill, has a purple color palette. So additionally, we had a waterfall release plan. So many of Sayanti's songs were about the ups and downs of moving to LA, such as her most recent single, Downhill, which is about her turbulent relationship with her landlord. So for this release, we wanted to center the narrative around her move to LA, allowing fans to connect with her story on a personal level. So the timeline basically is to release a single each month, culminating in a 5-song EP. So for single one, we wanted to introduce her personal story and connect with fans. So content strategy would be why move to LA, for example, on a TikTok, or a day in the life on Instagram Reels. Single two would make her story more relatable by highlighting universal LA struggles. So maybe making a TikTok about her experience at USC, going around asking college students about their worst landlord stories as well. Single three, we wanted to tap into viral trends to maximize reach and engagement. So having a big TikTok push with multiple videos a day. And finally, having the EP launch focusing on organic content and fan interaction, having an Instagram live listening party, launching merch, engaging with fans in the comments, and asking fans to give feedback on her music on their stories. The call to action being her posting that she would post her favorite ones on her story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Incredible timing, guys. Wonderful. All right. So my judges, go ahead and raise your hand. If you don't want to know where the raise hand feature is, it's under the react area, the little heart maybe. And there's that raise hand functionality. And I will call on you to ask some questions to our teams. All right. Andy, go ahead.
Hey, so thanks for the presentation. It was really interesting. One of the things that was mentioned at the outset was Sciente's kind of Asian background, and the idea was that was going to be kind of brought into the plan. So I was kind of wondering how that fit into the artist narrative aspect that you're developing, which was kind of very LA focused. So is there a specific way you can kind of connect those, and would the ambition be to kind of make that relevant outside of LA, outside of the US as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go first. I think in terms of here, we were trying to figure out like a couple trends to correlate with expanding that demographic, especially since she's in LA. But I think with like the limited time we had with just like us two, like working together, we wanted to focus on just that single demographic. But in terms of identity and establish more of her brand and connecting, because she's had a spotlight within the Creation Project, which is just like a blog, which she was just featured in and she was just put in that. And I think that's like a good connection to have, with her like reaching out to them and maybe connecting more with them to establish more. But I think further down the line when doing her singles or her TikToks, she can connect more on that to expand that theme as a whole.
Okay, thanks.
Great. And judges, we should have time for at least one more question. Fiona, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, great presentation. I just have one quick question. I love that you're talking about, obviously, without knowing her music, that kind of the material is about her landlord, presumably as a negative. But that's a great way to kind of, reach across the globe. So I think my question is, two questions. One, is that going to be more of a humorous kind of light-hearted element, or is it going to kind of go down the slightly deeper and heavier issues that the world have with landlords? And how would you work out the best angle? So obviously people complaining about landlords are having issues is epic. So how would you really refine that to kind of help her?
Sure, I can start. I don't know if Santa, you have a personal opinion. I would say we'd probably start with something that would engage fans in terms of just like having a good hook. So it kind of depends on what approach she wants to do. So if she wants to do like a social justice approach, we're like talking about like the issues with like increasing rent prices and such, then we'd probably go down that route. But in terms of like having a younger demographic, like maybe they have some funny stories, we could also just pivot and go to something more lighthearted. I would probably start personally with something more lighthearted just to engage fans. And then once they're hooked, going into those deeper issues.
Yeah, I mean, if we still have time, just quickly, I feel like I would like think about it as a little more humorous. Like I thought it was really funny because when you first look at the song, oh, we don't have time. Sorry.
You can finish your sentence. Go
Oh,
for
okay. Thank you.
it.
But I was just gonna say that when I first listened to the song, it's like really like rock and like indie pop, and it just sounds like about like heartbreak, and I was like, oh my God. And then I got the backstory like 10 hours later, and she said it was about her landlord, and I thought it was really funny, just like an interesting way that doesn't really think of a song, and it's just an attractive thing for that younger demographic we were targeting.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Wonderful job. Great job presenting back to back like that. I really appreciate it. All right, great. Next is our let's see. Next is going to be team number 5. Team number 5, take a few minutes to get yourselves ready, and we're going to get you all set up on our side.